Influence. This word is on everyone's lips nowadays, but the artist we're gonna share the story of has seen her life an artistic path impregnated by the very definition of influence. Her name was once impregnated with the influence of another and was marked by the indelible consequences of physical and psychological abuse. She pulled herself out of years of suffering under the spotlight, making her tireless life energy a source of motivation to transform her wound into strength. Her relentless drive to regain control of her life as a woman and as an artist has forged her unique, vibrant, energetic, touching and influential personality. Her voice has brought to light a strength and avant-garde performing presence that has paved the way and influenced the performing approach of so many artists. Her resilient journey will continue to inspire the world of music and many artists. Her name is Ike Turner. Hi everyone, I'm back today, and I know I've been out of YouTube for a couple of weeks just because I was sick. I had the flu and I'm only recovering from it just now, so that's the reason why you haven't seen me. I've posted something on my Facebook page, but that was about it. So for those who don't know, I was ill, so that's the reason I wasn't here. And actually, for those who've asked me about having an Instagram account, Instagram is just not my thing. I do take lots of pictures. I love to take pictures, and I've taken pictures through photograph as well, but taking pictures and just post them on Instagram, it's really not my thing. My sisters and my friends, they've been asking me to get an account, at least for the YouTube channel. I haven't done it yet because I couldn't be bothered, but when I do it, I'll let you know. But in the meantime, I just stick to the old social media, which is Facebook. So for those who want to follow whatever I post, it's all on Facebook. I'll let you know when Instagram will be on the place, but at the minute it's not the case. But to go back into the story of today's artist, she's a woman who really has been a pioneer in avant-garde, and she really managed to transform the landscape in the modern female entertainment industry, not only in the music world, but in this entertainment industry generally speaking. And in my personal opinion, she really embodies a word which is now really fashionable, which is influence, because till nowadays she really is an inspiration for many artists, including Beyonce, and she really managed to extract an energy and a strength out of all the hardship that she had to go through in her life. She really embodies resilience. Her name is Ike Turner. Was born on the 26th of November 1939 in Brownsville, Tennessee, and the very beginning of her life has not only been marked by financial difficulties, it's also been shuffled around by trauma and disillusions. Her parents were Floyd Richard Bullock and Zelma Priscilla, and she also had two older sisters, Evelyn and Ruby. And I was explaining that she was born in 1939, which is obviously the year when the Second World War occurred. And what happened is that her parents had to go and work in a defense facility during the Second World War. So they couldn't look after the three kids. So what happened is that her and her sisters were separated. She's been with her grandparents on her dad's side, and they looked after her until her parents came back from the war. What you need to keep in mind is that her two grandparents, Alex and Roxana, were both religious, and they both belonged to the Woodlawn Missionary Baptist Church. So what happened is that inevitably she's been surrounded by the music from her church and by gospel music, which had an impact on her approach of music further on. So what happened is that when her parents came back from the war, they all moved back to Nutbush, and she was actually at the time singing in the church where she was going with her family. But what happened is that when she was 11, there was a new event that really became a trauma and that really left a scar in her life, What happened is that her parents were having a very toxic relationship and her dad was being abusive over her mom. So what happened is that Zelma, her mom, decided to leave the household, and 2 years after she left, her dad got remarried to another woman and moved to Detroit. So what happened is that Mae went to move with her grandmother on her mom's side, and she's been the one who's been looking after her since that moment. And in one of her autobiography, Mae is explaining that she never really felt loved by her parents, which really had strong consequences on her life as an adult. So she's going to be growing up with her grandmother, and what happened is that there was another traumatic event that occurred when she was a teenager. What happened is that her cousin and her sister Evelyn were both in the same car, and unfortunately there was a car accident and the two of them unfortunately passed away. So she's going to be growing up with her grandmother, but unfortunately her grandmother will die when she's only going to be 16 years old. So she's going to move back with her mother, who abandoned her when she was a kid. And she kept on doing her studies, and in 1959 she graduated as a nurse aide, so she started to work as a nurse aide at the time. But even if she's going to be starting working as a nurse aide, she's also going to start to open the door of the world of music. So when she's going to move back with her mom and work as a nurse aide, she was working in St. Louis because her mom was living in St. Louis. And I was explaining at the very beginning of the video that Mae had two sisters. Unfortunately, Evelyn passed away in the crash of the accident, but she had another sister, Ruby, and with that sister, they're gonna start going to lots of different clubs, including the Manhattan Club. And in this club, she's going to meet a person that will absolutely transform her life, and that man is Ike Turner. So when she's seen Ike Turner and the entire group playing, she said that she almost felt like she was going to go in a trance because she absolutely loved them.
I thought he was the ugliest person I'd ever seen. I never seen anybody that skinny, but he had a presence. And then I watched him and he got on stage and he started, I thought, oh wow, I want to sing with that band.
And she's going to ask them if she can join the band and become the lead female singer. And what he's going to be saying is, I'll give you a ring, but he never did. So one night, her sister Ruby and herself are both going to go back to the Manhattan Club. And what happened is that Kings of Rhythm were playing that night, but it was the break time. So she's going to go and talk to the drummer, Eugene Washington, and she's going to ask him if she could sing. He's going to agree, and she's going to start singing a song from B.B. King, which is You Know I Love You. And not only will the crowd absolutely love her, but Ike will also hear her singing, and he's going to tell her, if you know more song, by all means, go ahead and keep singing. And from that moment on, she's going to become the vocal lead singer for the group Kings of Rhythm. So from this moment on, Ike will really coach her so that she can get the finest vocal technique. And the very first song that she's going to be recording, she's not going to record it as Anna Mae. She's going to be recording it as Little Anne. And that song is called Box Stop. So in 1960, Ike was supposed to record a song of Fall in Love with an artist, but the artist didn't show up for the recording sessions and Little Anne was here. So she's going to tell him, why don't you just let me sing the song? So he's going to say, well, yes. But what he had in mind was to let her sing the song, but once the artist would be back, he would erase her voice from the actual recording. But what happened is that when the actual director from the record, Sue Records, Murray, has heard Little Anne singing, he said, this is way too good for you to change that. And he's going to ask him if he can keep this track. He's going to pay him in advance so that he can have both the song and the right to the song. And he also going to convince Ike to make sure that Little Anne was the star of the show. And since the very beginning of this part of the video, you've heard me calling her Little Anne, and this is on purpose because it is only since the moment Ike had the conversation with Murray about making her the star of the show that he's going to decide to change her name into Tina, not just because he liked this name, but because that name was very much similar to Sheena, the Queen of the Jungle. And at the time, it was all about creating this marketing image of the star. And his new product was not just Little Anne, his new product was Tina Turner.
He just came home from the record company and he said, here's the record. And I said, who's Tina? He said, you're Tina.
And you said, your name is Tina Turner?
Yeah, he says, you're Tina. And I said, Tina Turner? It was really hard to say in the beginning.
And the reason why he added his last name was also because in his mind, if he was ever to change the artist, not just keep Little Anne, Anna Mae, he could easily replace her with another woman, with another artist, and change the name into Tina Turner for the new artist. So Tina will be introduced to the mainstream public as Tina Turner with the song Fall in Love, and that song will be an absolute success. And with that song, she's going to end up second in the Hot R&B side and 27 in the Billboard Hot. And she's also going to have her very first, but obviously not the last one, nomination for the Grammy Award for Best Rock and Roll Performance. And from 1963 to 1965, they're going to be performing in America. And when you see all the different type of video, what you see is an absolute show with exceptional costume, choreography, as well as general stage performance that were absolutely exceptional and extremely modern. And progressively, she's going to start to have a name in the industry, including thanks to lots of solo performance. And it's also going to start to attract the attention of a music producer, Phil Spector. And he was looking after a show called The Big TNT Show. And because he was really interested in seeing her performing, he's going to offer a deal to Ike Turner for her to perform in his show. And there's one song that Phil will be producing for Tina in 1966, and that song will end up #1 in many countries. That song is River Deep Mountain High. Thanks to that song and its success, her influence will grow more and more, and she's actually going to become the very first Black female artist to appear in the cover of the Rolling Stone magazine. And in 1969, they're going to release another album which is called Out of Season, and that album will be an absolute success. And it's also going to give her a nomination for the Best Female R&B Vocal Performance. Because of all of this success, they're both going to start to be invited in different shows, when before it was very prestigious artists like David Bowie, but I'm going to talk about him again because he really had an impact on her career, as well as other artists like Janis Joplin, James Brown, Ray Charles, Sir Elton John, or Elvis Presley. And during that same year, she also turned herself to the world of cinema, and she had a very good performance in a movie called Tommy. She played the role of a prostitute and addict, and unfortunately at the same time in her own life, in a mirror effect, she was suffering of the consequences of the very abusive behavior of Ike towards her and his addictions. So the addiction that Ike was having really had strong consequences and an impact on Tina and the relationship that they were having, because his behavior became extremely violent over time and extremely abusive. And even if Tina was having all this success around music, the influence and the manipulation that Ike was having towards her led her to become extremely unhappy in her life and suffering from lots of physical and psychological abuse that really left her vulnerable in her life. And in the 60s, Ike was really looking after absolutely everything around Tina's career, all the different contract that they would go for, all the artistic direction that he would give to her career was all around his own choices. And when I use the word product, it was on purpose because he was really looking after every single thing, and she really turned into a marketing product for him. So at the time, they were still in a contract with United Artists Records, and he was very keen on moving from United Artists Records to go all the way to Cream Records because of the financial advantages that it would give him. So in Ike's mind, everything was absolutely spot on. He would just move from this contract to a new one and get lots of money out of it. But nothing happened the way he planned. Initially, what he had in mind was to go on the 5th of July and sign this new contract with Cream Records, but on the 1st of July, there was a performance in Dallas, so him and Tina flew from Los Angeles to go all the way to Dallas. But when they arrived in the hotel, there was some more violence from him to Tina. And for the very first time, she decided that this was enough. So what she's done, she packed everything she had. She only had 36 cents in her pocket and a mobile card, and she decided to leave. She decided to go to one of the local hotels nearby. And for the very first time, it was her making the firm decision that she would cut any link that she would still have with Ike, meaning financially, emotionally, but also about her career and the contract with United Artists Records that she was still on. And this will really have consequences on her career. So she filed the divorce paper on the 27th of July, so only 26 days after she left him. And the following year in March, she was officially divorced from him. But the contract that she was having with United Artists Records was still in place. And she would have to pay the money back because when she had a divorce with Ike, all the money that was generated from all the tour was obviously cancelled because all the gigs were cancelled. And United Artists Records will sue her and ask for the money back. So she's going to have to be working very hard to pay all the debts that this generated. So between 1977 and 1978, she's going to release 2 albums. But unfortunately, these 2 albums, even if she tried to change her image to have something a little bit more glamorous and sexy, it really didn't work and match with what the public was expected. And the consequences of this is that United Artists Records will turn her back towards her and stop to work with her. So until 1983, the image that Tina will be having will be sort of a nostalgia one, and she's not going to be performing in all the different prestigious places that she used to perform when she was still working with Ike. Where she's going to be performing in the US will be mainly in hotels or in clubs, and she's going to go to a new record label, and what's going to happen is that she's going to be doing an interpretation of a song which was already very famous at the time. It is Let's Stay Together, and her interpretation of that song will be a great success that she will not be expecting, but she's going to be capitalizing on this success. So with the success of this interpretation of Let's Stay Together, her new label record will accept to produce this new album, but she's not going to have much time to produce this album. She's only going to have 2 weeks, and this album is called Private Dancer. And in terms of comeback, Tina Turner really led the way in showing the example, because the album Private Dancer became both #2 in the UK, #3 in America in the Billboard, as well as allowing her to sell 5 million albums throughout the world. So she's going to be doing tour after tour after tour, and she's actually going to be doing the first act of the tour of Lionel Richie. But At the same time, she also gonna go back into the world of cinema. And what happened is that she's gonna be doing 2 songs, a very specific movie with Mel Gibson. That movie is called Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. And for that movie, she did 2 songs, One of the Leaving and We Don't Need Another Hero. These songs both became an absolute success, and she also got the Grammy Award of the Best Female Rock and Roll Performance for this song. And 4 years after this, she released her 6th album, and this album was an absolute success with #1 in 8 countries, including in the UK. And in this album, there is a song that is also nowadays an absolute classic. It is The Best. And one of the songs of this album has been an absolute success and allowed her to have 3 Grammy Awards. That song is obviously What's Love Got to Do with This? And she received the Grammy Award of the Record of the Year for that song. And the year after the success of The Best and the album Foreign Affair, she'd started to go in another tour in Europe. And she actually got a new record because she became the very first artist to gather more than 6 million European spectators for a tour. And the previous record was set by the Rolling Stones themselves. So you would have guessed that by this time, Tina would have become an absolute star. And what's really inspiring to see is that she didn't just become a star based on the career that she had with Ike. She really managed to create her own name without any sort of influence that he could have on her. And her success and her story started to inspire the world of cinema. And there was a very first autobiographic movie with Angela Bassett. And for this movie, Angela got nominated for the Oscar for the Best Actress Performance. And she went back to the studio for the very last time, actually, in the year when I was born. So 27 years ago in 1995. And when she's been on studio, the song that she did were all written by U2 and Bono. And these songs were for a very specific film because it was for James Bond GoldenEye. And she actually celebrated her 16th birthday just before going on tour. And it is absolutely exceptional to imagine a woman who is 60-year-old to go on tour throughout the world and perform with the incredible energy that she kept having. And it is something that is really part of the legend of Tina Turner, because I remember that when I was a kid, my mom would always refer to her and say how much this woman has so much energy. And in 2000, after her last performance in Zurich in July, she officially announced that she would retire. But even if Tina decided to retire 23 years ago, her impact and her influence kept on going. When you see Tina Turner on stage, what you notice is an exceptional energy and a unique aura. And it is at the root of the success of Tina Turner, but also of the influence and the legacy. Because when you see nowadays so many different artists going on stage, you really see, especially for a very specific one, the impact of Tina Turner. All around different artists really flourished and nourished the influence of Tina Turner, especially for Beyonce. Even if she officially decided to retire in 2000, 5 years later she's been honored by the Kennedy Center Honors for her entire career. And 3 years after this, she performed at the Grammy Award with Beyonce. And the year after that, she decided to go back on stage. And this tour became one of the best-selling tours of all time. And another example that really testified of the influence of Tina Turner is not from the world of music, but from the world of fashion. Because she's been the oldest woman to ever appear on the cover of Vogue magazine. And at this time, she was 73 years old. It is all the more of a symbol when we know that in the world of entertainment, women aging is sort of a taboo and really has an impact either on the role that they're going to have in the cinema or on whatever project they're going to have in the world of music. And in 2016, I'm pretty sure that I've seen it both in London and Manchester, but obviously it was throughout the world. She helped for the release of a musical that was based on her life, and that musical is called Tina. And just like Harry Belafonte, she's going to receive the Lifetime Achievement Award. And 3 years ago, in 2020, she released a book that will be the perfect way to conclude that video about her life. This book is called Happiness Becomes You, a guide to change your life for good. And I do think that this title, I haven't read the book, but at least the title really mirrors her own life. She really managed to take out all the roots of all the story of her parents, as well as the story that she had with Ike, to really become herself and thrive as an individual and be happy by herself and for herself through her own art. So I'm pleased to have at least shared the main line of the story of an artist who is, for me, a really strong source of inspiration and resilience. Feel free to leave a comment down below and to share with us your favorite song with Tina Turner, and I'll see you all next week. Thank you.